You are tuned in to Labitel, Habits That Count, with Dr. Martha J.
Good afternoon, Dr. J. Sakafet.
Muy bien, muy bien.
Ou bien là, ou bien formidable, ou là, ou bien là,
oui, muy bien. Solid.
Ou bien formidable, ça bon,
yes.
ça bon.
Today we're expecting WTR to play. There's a promotion for us. I don't know if you have it queued up.
I haven't been looking for the WTR, so I got to keep it. I keep looking for it. In the meantime, so that I'll be doing. I've been trying to put my eye on it, but I have not located it. So I'm still looking. I saw it on the log, and I've been running through. Trying to see if I locate it. So I'm going to go another route and see if I find it, and then I can run it. We still have a few minutes before we go with, so
3 minutes,
so I run that in. So, you know, what's happening in your neck of the world?
Oh, everything is beautiful. I can't complain.
You better not, man. The Lord is too good.
That's right.
Yeah, the Lord is too good for us to be grumpy or complaining. And let me see, it's I saw the WTR. So I've been looking, WTR, just trying to put my hands on there, but I just have not been able to.
But if we don't see it before, and you can find it while we're on, and you can play it at the end, that'd be beautiful as well.
All right, wonderful.
So don't pressure yourself. Just try to find it during those 30 minutes and see if you can play it by the end.
Yes, I will keep looking, keep searching. And if
all right, thank you.
All right, so I hand over to you. It's at 29 after 5. Have a good program.
Thank you very much, Pastor. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Labitil, Habits That Count, a place where we examine issues or concerns and we identify practices or habits that we can implement to fix them or to achieve some level of success. Thank you for your listen. I am your host, Dr. Martha J. And if you're listening to us via the diaspora or via the radio waves in Dominica, whether you're listening via TuneIn or Facebook Live, or you're listening on YouTube, we want to say a special welcome to you today. And for those of you who would like to call, the numbers to call DBS Radio are 448-3284 or 1-800-327. And if you'd like to call us via WhatsApp, you're listening internationally and you want to say something, you can reach us via WhatsApp by calling 305-432-9744. Today, Labitil is brought to you by Budding Writers Academy. Budding Writers, we care about writing, we care about reading. We want our children to be able to write as effectively as they can read. We want to reverse those statistics, or actually narrow the gap of the number of students who are able to read and write on grade level. So today, this month of September, we've been talking about literacy. And this week, our focus is on the field of technology. I like statistics. So the World Economic Forum, held in October 2022, estimates that the world will create 150 million new technology jobs by 2030. The United Nations states that 600 million youth jobs will be created by 2030. However, only 1 in 4 of those youth are ready for those jobs. And they also state that 77% of those 600 million jobs will require digital skills. So technology is at the forefront of the United Nations mission for its future work streams. And it's focusing a lot on robotics, artificial intelligence, work streams, robotics, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. These are among the three main focus areas, but of course, there are lots of other areas in technology that they are focusing on. Today, we will take a closer look at one of those skills, and it is coding, the way the computer programmers communicate with computers. So to tackle this topic, of course, it's not me. I know nothing about computer programming. It is about a topic that's all around us, but yet still it's the most foreign thing to us. And so we have with us Senior Software Engineer, Mr. Kareem Lando, a son of the soil, who knows almost everything I can think of about coding and maybe what I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm setting him up, but I know he knows a lot about it. And he's the best person to tell us everything we want to know about coding today. And Kareem has a sleeve of, how would I say it, credentials when it comes to coding and computer programming. So he's the best person to tell you about him. So Kareem, can you just introduce yourself to our listeners?
Hey, good afternoon. Yeah, I appreciate the introduction. So yeah, I'm Kareem from the village of St. Joseph in Dominica. Currently live in Chicago, and I've been a professional software engineer for about 13 years now. I've written software for many major US and European companies. I've also worked as a contractor for the US government. I think it's an important topic, like you mentioned, many jobs will be created by 2030. So I think it's a topic that, that we definitely need to discuss. And I'm happy to be here to share my insights and hopefully encourage others to come to the tech side.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Who knows, you might win me over. So for me as a language arts teacher, when I think of literacy, I think of the ability to read, write, speak, listen, and to be able to communicate effectively in English or whatever that language is. So I am eager to find out what is coding. What does it mean to code? What is that?
Yeah, so coding, also known as programming, is essentially writing instructions that a computer or a machine can understand and execute. So think of it as giving commands to that machine in a language that it recognizes. These commands are written in specific languages like Python, Java, or C++, just to name a few. So just like we use the English language, Creole, or Spanish to talk to each other, coders use programming languages to talk to computers. I also believe, along with many other developers, that coding is an art. You can write, code to get to the same results in many different ways. The goal is to write code that's scalable, readable, and efficient. And you can actually tell a lot about a developer's experience from the code that they write. And fun fact, there are over 300 different programming languages and counting. But of course, no one really expects you to know all of them.
Well, that's amazing, because I don't know how many languages there are in the ones that we speak, but if coding it looks like coding is competing with us from what we speak. Amazing. I love that. So it seems like a far-fetched idea. Like coding is like, oh, who codes anyway? But so the average person doesn't care or doesn't know anything about coding. What I wanted to tell us is, how integrated is coding in our society? Why should we care about it? How much of coding is into what we do every day?
Yeah. So before I go into the details, let me ask a rhetorical question to the audience. So to anyone listening, what comes to mind when you think about code? For most people, it might be things like apps, games, or websites. Maybe it's a hacker sitting in a dark room somewhere trying to hack into a bank system. And that all makes sense. All those things rely heavily on code. But what about your car or an airplane? Maybe the microwave that you use, or a coffee that you use in the morning to make your coffee to start your day. So many modern appliances use code under the hood to work. A flight management system on an aircraft is essentially a computer that uses code along with many sensors to control the autopilot system as if it were a pilot. A microwave is a good example because it takes user input, you pressing a button, to select the amount of time that you want to heat up the food or the type of food that you want to heat up. And it starts a series of actions. Then it automatically stops and alerts the user by beeping that the process is finished. So if you had access to your microwave's code, for instance, you could do things like speed up the rotation of the plate or add custom timers for your favorite food. When you interact with an app like Amazon or Temu to buy your product, code is what facilitates the transaction to get that product from the warehouse to your doorstep. So code is really everywhere. It's so well ingrained in the fabric of our society that many of us would not even would not know if we weren't told. So it makes sense for people of today, especially young people, to at the very least have a basic understanding of the role code plays in our daily lives.
So would you say that coding is, well, from what you've just told us, it appears that coding is very important because we need people to code for how microwaves are made. And just, I like to remind my students about the remote control. When the first person invented the remote control, it was simply on and off. And now the remote control is the most confusing piece of thing. And I remember someone said that the guy he died when he was 90, but he couldn't even operate the modern day remote control because people had done so many changes to them. And so I understand what you're saying, that we can use code to make changes to things that we use. How important would you say that coding is, whether it's for today's jobs or for future jobs or just general? How important is coding to our society?
Yeah, so at the beginning of the program, you started by mentioning how it's important to be able to read and write. Coding is actually just as important as learning to read or write, especially in 2024 and beyond. It's a core skill that can help people develop a deeper understanding of how technology works in general. The world is moving more technical anyway, so just being able to have an understanding of how things work under the hood is a very important skill to have. And having that skill sets you up for the future. You mentioned the statistics in the beginning of the jobs that will be created in the future. You think about things like machine learning and AI. AI is a big part of what we do today, and it's only been out for what, a year, going on 2 years. Imagine what AI is going to be like 5-10 years from now, when kids who are just being born are coming of age, when they could kind of start learning coding and things like that. So it's a very important skill to learn today, and it's really important that we introduce children from a young age to coding.
Awesome. When I look around, for example, I teach at a tech school, and because I teach at a tech school, I know that almost all the students in my class are familiar, and they talk about what languages that they're very familiar with. They will say that C++ and the Python and the Java, and I hear that all the time. So what I wanted to ask you is, so I'm at a tech school, a STEM school, where we expect the kids to learn that. How easy or how difficult it is to develop that skill or that language? And I'm speaking about students who probably will not go to college in a hurry, or probably are not yet in college. Is that something that is accessible to students that probably won't go to those kind of schools?
Yeah, for sure. So like anything, learning the code can vary in difficulty depending on factors like your learning style. For instance, personally, I prefer watching YouTube tutorials than reading long textbooks. It also can depend on prior experience. So if you have no technical background, you have no idea how a computer works, first you need to understand how a computer works before you could actually start coding and things like that. If you have some technical background and are familiar with basic mathematical concepts, or you have used software development tools in the past, it'll be easier. Obviously, things will be easiest if you have previous coding experience, even in another language than the one that you're trying to learn. But today, kids start learning to code at a very young age, and it's very doable for them. Not just for kids. I talk about kids, but as an adult, you can definitely learn to code as well. Obviously, as we get older, the ability to pick up new languages diminishes with time. But it's definitely something that's doable. It also depends on the language that you want to start with. So for instance, you mentioned Python and JavaScript. Those are two of the easiest languages to start, learning to code with, because of their relatively easy syntax. And by syntax, I mean, the structure, the structure of the code in order for the computer to understand it. Every programming language has its own structure, just like we have structures in the English language or the Spanish language to, the way we put words together to create a sentence. Programming languages are the same thing. You need to structure it appropriately so that the computer can understand what you want it to do. Also, there are a lot of resources out there, from free platforms to paid structured courses. I mentioned I learned via YouTube, a lot of things that I know today. I actually learned to build websites from the ground up, using a website called W3 Schools, which is a free website. There are also a site called Code Academy, that people can go on to learn to code. So yeah, like I said, varying difficulty depending on your experience, but as long as you're persistent, you can do it, and there are free resources out there that can help you. So yeah.
Awesome. So you mentioned, you said they learn to code early. How early do you know, or are you aware of that there are programs for kids to begin learning coding language?
Yeah, I mean, you can start, I know there are programs, there's apps that you can download on tablets, for instance, that encourages kids to start learning to code as early as, I'm not sure the exact age, but elementary age. Once you're in elementary school, primary school, they encourage you to start learning because, like I said previously, it's as important as learning to read or write in this day and age. So you want to start teaching kids, to get familiar, with coding at a very early age. So yeah, definitely elementary school age would be ideal.
Awesome. I wonder why we don't have those kind of skills built into schools that early, because if the UN is saying that 150 million of the jobs are going to be tech related and 77% of them are going to be digital, I think we have to get past just teaching a kid how to use a computer. We have to start teaching them how computers work. And I like that. There's a difference, how to use a computer and how computers work. Awesome.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely.
So tell me, Kareem, you are a coder. What are some career paths that are associated with that? If we had a class of students from their 6th grade year, they're learning to code, what are some career paths that these kids would be able to have themselves, could be connected to later on?
Yeah, so if you love playing games, you might enjoy creating your own video games as a video game developer. I think that's one of the career paths that should excite kids. Most kids I know love playing video games. You can also be a cybersecurity engineer. Cybersecurity engineers focus on protecting companies from hackers with bad intentions. And we talk about AI. AI is becoming a huge thing now, and it's changing the way a lot of people work. So you can, strive to be an AI engineer to make the technology better. Like you said, I'm a software engineer. So what I do is also very viable. I basically create apps for companies in need, websites if they need that. So that's another path.
Awesome. So there's a lot that we can learn. And of course, being an engineer in any one of those places, like the microwave working people, as you said, you need software engineers in all of those places, whether it's a watch you're building, anything that works by machinery. I love that. So talk to me. Let's talk about the gap, because I know when we think of software engineers, when we think of hackers, when we think of all of those things that you spoke about, we are speaking of the male. We have a lot of men. When I look at the world statistics, it says that 91%, and that's world, 91% of software engineers are male, and only 5.17 are female. That's in the world. US is a little better, but worldwide, which means if I had 100 men in a room, I probably wouldn't get one woman who was a software engineer, because 5% is very, it's just. So what I wanted to ask you is, tell me about the gap.
Yeah, so it's a fact that, women are underrepresented in the tech industry as a whole. In all the years that I've been in this field, like I said, 13 years, I've personally only ever worked with 3 female developers. So that might sound shocking, being in this field for 13 years. This isn't just my experience. Like you said, it's the global average is, between 80 and 90% of software developers are men. Obviously that can, vary between countries, but the pattern is consistent. Women, and particularly women of color, are vastly underrepresented. Why this is, there are some theories. Cultural expectations play a big role. Boys are generally encouraged more to explore technical fields, while girls tend to be steered toward more, quote unquote, traditional areas of teaching, areas like teaching or healthcare. also the way toys and educational tools are marketed reinforces these stereotypes. So think about how many tech-related toys are marketed towards boys versus girls. Then there's the issue of representation. There are fewer well-known female role models in software. So this lack of female visibility can discourage women from pursuing careers in programming or just tech in general. Interestingly, the lack of diversity isn't just about gender, it's also about race. Less than 5% of software engineers in 2023 were Black. But the gap is gradually narrowing as awareness grows. Programs like Girls Who Code and Black Girls Code have made significant progress in increasing diversity in tech among young girls and girls of color. Since I write code for a living, I hope to make an impact on my daughter by introducing her to code at an early age. And finally, I want to say, as we're talking about, the diversity part of this, I want people to remember that diversity drives innovation, right? Throughout history, people of color have invented products that make our lives easier even today. So for instance, the 3-light traffic signal, or the colored computer monitor, believe it or not, was created by a Black man. Popular inventions created by Black women, the 3D projection system was invented by Valerie Thomas, and the home video security system was also invented by a woman. So don't ever believe that women or Black women and Black people in general are not useful in tech. This is a field for everyone.
Awesome. I saw something also where it states that degrees, less women are pursuing courses in computer science. So I would want to, I don't know, again, as you said, that we can lay it squarely on parents for introducing their kids to computer science like games or just computer science related toys. But what about schools? I think schools need to pay attention to encouraging more females to pursue computer degrees. But I also saw something, Kareem, where it states that hostility, it's a hostile environment. Can you tell us about that? Is there?
Yeah, the workplace has a tendency of having a bro culture. Usually in tech, it's usually, that's a bunch of guys getting together, creating a product. And, it's usually, like I said, a bro culture and, lack of support. Like I said before, because, not many women are, software engineers. So, a woman joins a company and, she wants to be a software engineer, but, the only people there to support her are other men, not women to look up to. Some women feel, like you said, the bro culture in these companies, right? These, they don't have someone to look up to. They don't have great representation. So interestingly, a lot of women who join tech companies, eventually they leave because they just don't feel supported. They haven't been promoted. They don't have the support that they need. And like you mentioned, the hostility in the workplace, right?
So does it mean, I'd expect you to answer for the tech companies, Does it mean that the world of tech is being shielded or being hugged by men? Is that what it is? Is that should I be able to make that assumption? I'm taught not to make assumptions.
I wouldn't necessarily say it's being hugged. We talked about, many reasons why there are a lack of women in the field, right? And I think, obviously men are needed to make a change, right? But also, be the change that you want to see, right? People mention that all the time. It is a male dominated field. But, and I myself personally, when I do interviews, I tend to, look for more female, interviewees to join the company, especially when we do things like internships and whatnot, because I do want to introduce, a lot of women to the world of coding. It's said that women are better than men in a lot of tasks, and I believe that that's in the world of coding too. Women are amazing coders, and I just think we need to create opportunities for them, create avenues for them to be able to join these companies, and create opportunities for them to be promoted from within the companies and for them to be supported.
Awesome. Thank you so much. What is your advice to young people who would like to code, especially after listening to you and finding out that, hey, it's not as hard as you think. We need 150 million to, these are new jobs we're going to have. So whether you like it or not, it is going to be one of the most lucrative career paths coming, in the future. So what would you say to those youngsters listening, or any teacher who probably who has an opportunity to inspire?
Yeah. So let me just put a personal note here. I was exposed to computers at a very young age, in the second grade. While other kids were playing video games, I would tinker with different settings to change the way the computer worked. For instance, my mother bought me my first computer in middle school, which was also when I was introduced to coding by a friend. My first piece of software was a web browser that I built all on my own in the eighth grade. I wish my mother was alive today so I could tell her how much of an impact, that first computer had in my life, because that's the reason I'm here today. And I say all of that to say, parents, you absolutely have the power to guide the career choices of your children by simply giving them exposure. We talked about that a lot. How does anyone know if they like or if they're good at something? It's exposure. You need to expose them to that. So to anyone who's thinking about learning to code, or if you have a child and you're, interested in pushing them in that direction, just go for it. Whether you're a boy, girl, black, white, young or old, even if you don't think you'll like it, at least just give it a try. It's so easy to get started. All the tools are free. You don't have to pay anything to get started. You don't have to go to college, to be able to be a software engineer, and you're not losing anything, but you're actually gaining valuable knowledge. I might be biased, but I truly believe that it's one of the best decisions, one of the most empowering decisions someone can make. It gives you the freedom to be an entrepreneur, to create products that you believe in and love. So instead of just being a consumer of technology, why not be a creator of it? You can create your own video games, your own websites or apps. Learning can be frustrating just like anything. And at times you'll feel like giving up, but nothing beats that feeling when you finally figure out the solution to a problem that you've been scratching your head over for, days. And like I said in the past, remember, coding is for everyone, boys, girls, children, and adults alike. Anyone can code as long as you're motivated and dedicated. The world is getting more technical. Be a part of the conversation.
Awesome. So if I had one boy right now sitting right here listening to me or you, he is 12 years old. He has an iPad or he has an electronic device, and he's like, I think I want to try the world of coding. What is that first thing he needs to do? He or she needs to do?
Yeah, the first thing I would do is, I would say, I mentioned some websites before, W3 Schools, Code Academy, or YouTube tutorials. You need to have an exploratory phase to even see if this is something that you would enjoy. I would say, if I were starting to code today, I would go to YouTube and look at what other people are doing. If I'm interested, in what they're doing, I would download the tools that they're using and, just start writing simple programs. You can write programs that's literally 1 line of code, 2 lines of code, or 3 lines of code. So yeah, I would say just start off by, go through an exploratory phase, discover what other people are doing, watch some tutorials, watch some videos on YouTube, maybe read some projects that people are working on. Go to W3 Schools and just see how easy it is to code, and I guarantee you're going to want to do it.
I agree. And I mean, I've had to struggle with it a little bit sometimes, just to upload an image on on your website. It has to, it entails some kind of coding. So,
and the funny thing is, you pay someone to do that exact same thing. You pay a lot of money, but it's such an easy thing to do yourself.
Right. So therefore, it's out there, it's lucrative. You want to go ahead and do that. I wanted to ask you a personal question. Have you thought of any initiative to inspire young coders? I mean, I know there are lots of them out there, but have you thought of anything? Because you from here, from locally, Dominica, St. Joseph, I don't know. I did not check the statistics to see how many programmers we have on Dominica or how many coders we have. Or people in software engineers. I do not know those statistics, but if there were to be, have you thought of any initiative?
Yeah, I've always wanted to, use my experience to impact others. I'd love to work with people one-on-one or in small groups, going through structured courses, or, just being available, to help people if they have any particular questions. I also believe, just like I said, just like math, science, or history, programming should be integrated in curriculums across the world. So I'd eventually love to work with teachers and administrators. We mentioned earlier, why aren't people teaching kids to do this at an earlier age, right? So I'd love to, eventually be able to work with educators and teachers to be able to introduce this in the curriculum at an earlier age. I know getting access to devices like laptops and tablets can be challenging, so I'd love to be able to raise funds to provide students with what they need to get started coding. And you talk about Dominica, it would actually be pretty cool to have local coding competitions or hackathons where students, people who are learning to code can compete to come up with working, efficient, and intricate solutions to predetermined problems.
That's amazing. I'm going to take you on that challenge and look it up. I have another lady who is interested in doing robotics, and she said, all I need is a child who is willing and committed. That's all she wanted. Just have the interest and be committed. And that's what we want to do for programming as well, is make sure you have the interest and you are willing to commit. And I think if kids understand that you don't have to be that super person with you came out number one on the common entrance. You don't have to be all of that. Just have an interest and be committed to sticking to it, and you can code. I know that
you can code.
You can do robotics.
Code, and you can make a lot of money doing it.
Yes. So all you need to do those two things. So Karim, your final thoughts, because we are winding down the last 3 minutes. Your final thoughts to listeners out there, to parents especially. I heard you put in a plug for parents, telling them that they should provide tools or toys to children. Just do a soup. Tell us the final thoughts, and at the same time, help parents figure out how they can do that for their girls or boys.
Yeah, definitely. So coding can be, we talk about, it being a career, but coding can just, also be something fun that you do. Years ago, I built my own trivia game. Now I'm actually studying to be an AI engineer. I've been studying for a couple of weeks to do that. It's a great skill to have, one that can develop into an amazing career with, amazing earning potential. We talk about that often because it is true. So if you are a parent with a child, please expose them to coding early. It will give them a head start for their future, no matter what career they decide to pursue, because coding touches every aspect of our lives in every industry.
Awesome. But thank you very much, Karim, for your time. This was an amazing opportunity. You make me feel like I should be going into coding too.
You should.
I want to shout out to all of the parents out there. Get your girls particularly. I'm a little biased here, because if you're going to tell me, just in the US, we have 22% of girls coders and 77%, more of them are male. So we have a lot more in the US, but worldwide, 5%, less than 5%, it's just way too small. So I want us to motivate your young women, give them opportunities, challenge them to be software engineers so that we can have more girl coders. You have been listening to Labby Teal, Habits That Count. Next week, we will have Mr. Algernon James. He was a former forest officer with the Dominica Forestry Division, and he will be talking to us about plants and games. He's also an author of about 3 publications with the Wildlife Department in Dominica, and he's going to be with us. It's cultural season. Pastor said a while ago that it was the National Day of Prayer. I want to speak a blessing over all of you listening, whether you're in Dominica or in the diaspora, because today is considered National Day of Prayer in Dominica. And I just want to say to you, thank you for your listen. Share this if you were listening. We will submit a podcast version later on in this week, so you can share it with your students. And before I go, one more thing I wanted to say, that I will send that out to schools and have put out a challenge, because we have one device to give away. Mr. and Mrs. Lando, Mara and Karim, by the way, those of you who listened before, Karim is Mara's husband, and they have that beautiful little girl. But they donated that device that we still have, and so I'm going to put it out there so that one child will get that device. But we have to set up a competition or something that they can they can win it. But I want to say thank you again for your listen. Next week, you will listen to Mr. Agon and James, and you've been listening to Labby Teal. I want to say to you, show kindness to at least one person and plant a seed. It will grow. Thank you again, and bye-bye.
All right. Good vibes. I did appreciate the information. And I'm not sure, my brother, am I too late to be a coder?
Definitely not. Any age.
Yeah, any age, right. Is it something that is available, through, I guess, virtual learning, that kind of vibes, I mean, you can enroll through all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you can enroll through. There are many different sites you can enroll in, or you could take your own path, and like I said, just go through YouTube. But yeah, to answer your question, many different websites offer structured courses that you could pay a small fee for and learn how to code.
All right, wonderful.
Definitely. What we will do, we will add that on the Facebook link, of course, so that people will remember the suggestions you had. Go to YouTube and go to those other ones. Can you just repeat them again, Karim? Those schools that you said the free ones?
Yeah, Code Academy and W3 Schools, and of course YouTube.
So YouTube, Code Academy, and W3 Schools. These are all free, and you can use that to get yourself started. Good job.
I'll tell you what, W3 Schools would be the one that I would choose. That's where I learned a lot of what I know today.
Awesome. All right, Pastor. So next time I talk to you, you might have something else under your belt, right?
A coder. I guess it can't happen that quick, man. You know what I mean? You got to develop the discipline and get in it. So,
but at least you tell me you started, or you looked it up at least.
Yeah, wonderful. So thanks much. I got the stuff. I got help from the acting program director. So it was out of my league. And I was not a coder to so I learned something.
Okay.
And so I'm going to play this. Thank you, and blessings on your week. All right, you both.
Thank
and
you.
My brother, you say you're from Senjo originally?
Senjo, yeah. Yep.
You were born there and moved across as a youngster? Or
I was born in Senjo, left when I was 6, so I moved to St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands.
All right. Good pathway. All right. Every success to both of you. All right. And we move on for the day. Yeah, good. God bless. Yes.
All right.
Hey, y'all. Do you want to run like a boss? Then choose the ready to respond process.
Watch the movie.
Right to respond.
Read a book.
Right to respond.
Went on a trip.
Right to respond.
Heard a story.
Even a song. Right to respond.
Like a spy.
Identify.
Like a reporter.
Sum it up. React.
Use evidence. Tell how you feel. Analyze. Agree, disagree. Find out more. Use it every day. You write like a boss.
Hey, y'all.
What are you waiting for? Try it. Come on.
Right to respond.